Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know who it is, the Cat Hatch, resident fly guy, your chief architect, Michelangelo of StyleArchitects.com. Here to help you redesign your frame of mind when it comes to this lifestyle thing. Did you like that pause? I did that pause. That was the suspense right there that was drawing you in. Anywho, it is Monday, so it's either money making Monday, it's motivational Monday, it's mundane Mondays, it's whatever you are choosing to create it. So I wanted to make sure that you guys are being intentional with the stories and the statements and style that you guys are creating. And today we are going to be continuing our conversation on ties. Let me drop this just a little bit. That sounded like old Grandmaster Flash. Anywho, so today we're going to be talking all about how to be casual and cool while still maintaining a certain level of sophistication. And definitely one of those ways that you can do that is with your tie, right? With that punctuation mark to your ensemble. And it doesn't need to be worn with a suit per se. So we're definitely going to be talking about that today on the produce production on that. Handicap Visions, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being consistent and showing up with me. I always appreciate seeing you here, my guy. So yeah, don't forget that this is a conversation, not a verbal dissertation or lecture, unless you want it to be. If so, I do got a sermon ready. And so I do have to apologize. Saturday we missed the Q&A. Again, we're gonna start doing productions on that, and we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. I finally got my space quasi together. It's like 60% together now, so it feels a little bit better, and was able to pull out clothes and get everything a little bit more organized. So I'm super excited about the continuing journey, and I'm focused. I wrote out this whole week's production, so we're ready. We're going. We're getting there. And outside of that, if you have any questions, as always, you know that you can always reach me at info@StyleArchitects, and I'm happy to answer those questions. And you also can hit me in the comment box, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, and I'll be happy to go over any questions or concerns that you may have there as well. So today we're going to be talking about casual sophistication. And the reason why I wanted to have that conversation is because the tie really serves, again, if we know a little bit of the history of ties, we know that they really serve no real function in the elements of menswear. The tie has always been a accent piece. It's always had a certain level of luxury to it because it has no real function. It's just a way of decorating or tying, as I like to say, the rest of the look together. So in a status or a social state of casualness, what does it look like to be able to add a touch of whimsical sophistication or charming sophistication or serious sophistication in casual elements? Well, this is one of the things that you should start thinking about. And you know, if you've been rocking with me, that it's always about the consciousness of your character, its construction and curation in your wardrobe before you ultimately communicate that character to the world. So when it comes to being casually sophisticated, what happens if you are willing, to be intentional about the type of cool or casual nature that you are trying to create? Well, if we think about clothing from that aspect, we're intentional about what we want to wear, then we know that when we step out, before we ever say anything, we're making a statement. How we look is going to be a reflection or a perception of how we are and how we're going to move. So even if I'm casual, there's still ways for me to be elevated in those spaces. Even if it is just the styling and me taking a little bit of extra time to tie a tie and add it to a dress shirt, or maybe pair a scarf with a t-shirt, or pocket square with a 5-pocket, trucker's jacket like I have on here, or making sure that when I'm going out and making my purchases that I'm being intentional with what I'm purchasing and what I'm picking up. Then we have an opportunity to really start being intentional with the type of casual nature that we're creating, because you guys need to think of this and understanding that there's levels to it, right? You can't just step out to a space and say, oh, I'm casual. Well, if I'm hanging out in the Hamptons, my casual looks very differently than if I'm hanging out on the stoop, with my partners in Brooklyn. Like, it's just a different casualness. There's a different element of casual engagement when we start having conversation. If I'm having a casual conversation with a potential client or business partner, the vernacular, the dictation, the accent, the engagement is going to be different than if I'm talking to my cousin, you know, who I grew up with. Our slang is going to be different because the understanding is going to be different. And this is not to say that things need to be stuffy or things need to be rigid. What I'm saying is that there's just different communication within that context. And so before we even get to the communication, I have to understand what environment and what setting I'm putting my story or this chapter or this statement and page or narrative into my story with. So when we start moving into what you purchase, it's important to understand that the cloth is going to probably be the most important thing when you're stepping into a casual situation, because that cloth is going to be the determining factor in three ways. It's going to determine the feel of the look. Craig Wallace, what's going on, man? Thank you very much for joining. I always appreciate seeing you, sir. I love your story and all the chapters that you are creating for yourself. Definitely proud of everything that you've accomplished. Continue working, sir. Continue working. And so in that space, what ends up happening is when you are going to purchase a piece of clothing, you look at it a little bit differently, just from the structure of the piece. You also look at the color. You also look at the cloth and what that feeling creates for you. So just imagine this: you're walking into, let's say, a J. Crew. A lot of guys love J. Crew. Oh man, it's humbling. I think you would have got there on your own, but I appreciate it. I'm glad that I could be a part of your style story. Yeah, that's true. How you dress does determine how other people treat you, especially in this manner. So imagine you going into J. Crew. J. Crew has some cool staple pieces depending on your size and some other different types of things. And let's say you see this shirt, and this shirt is made out of linen, right? But it has a collar and it's buttoned down and it's long sleeve. So the thought process is that this must now be a shirt that I can wear to work. But you work in a corporate office. It's not a, Wall Street office, but it still does require a certain level of formality. And you get there and you're supposed to be, dressing and in a professional manner, but it's Friday, so you think you can get away with it. It's casual Friday, so you think that you can get away with it. Now, several things happen. Number one, we start talking about the color of that fabric. Anytime that you have a more casual fabric, what tends to happen with the coloring is the saturation is usually, not always, but is usually not going to be as rich. So you can still have a navy shirt, but the saturation is not going to make it a true navy. It's going to have a matted undertone to it. And because of that, what happens is it immediately brings down the intensity of the item that's being worn. Like, you've seen, for instance, a chambray fabric versus a true indigo denim type of fabric. Seen them worn together, they're worn extremely well, but that chambray fabric, even if it's navy, is going to look duller than indigo denim. The indigo denim will have this luster and the shine to it that has a certain sheen to it that immediately dresses that denim up. That's why that denim, it's not why it is. It's part of the reason why denim, like in indigo, that's dyed in indigo, can be much more expensive, is because of the elements that have to go into creating it. But again, denim is still a very casual fabric. So you've paired your linen shirt with your denim jeans, because denim can be worn in the office, and you have on a nice blazer. But you start realizing like it's uncomfortable, partly because that blazer is starting to see bunching just under the elbows of your jacket. Well, it's because the linen is beginning to wrinkle. And you start realizing, dang, man, like I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable here because I'm getting all this bunching right here in my elbows. Well, part of that is because of the fabric you chose. So even when we start talking about the fabric, there are a lot of guys who say, well, I'm gonna go get an Oxford cloth, or I'm gonna go, Yeah, polos have their place for the summer. I think that especially the way that polos are created now. I have a few knits, and that's often what they're called because they're knitted together. Um, I have a few knits that are spread collar just like this. They're still soft collar, but they can be worn with a tie. And those are the ones I actually like because I like versatility in my clothing. They don't make a lot of them. I'm looking and trying to procure this information from a homie who has some created, or I'm just going to buy them off of him, but I just need him to switch up a few things. So in that space, but yeah, their polos are great for the summertime. So in that space, you have to be aware of what you're purchasing and what you are curating and collecting in your wardrobe, even in casual spaces, because as you do that, now once you step out after work, you take off your jacket, let's say, just because again the bunching was uncomfortable, then the communication changes. Even that casual communication is working more to your benefit in that space, because now you can roll up your linen shirt and the wrinkles, right? The wrinkles that come with that casual element are going to be a little bit more effective. I always like to say that linen always has an element of sexuality to me because it reminds me of wrinkled sheets in the morning after a night of pleasurable interaction has happened with a lady. I think sophisticated casuals, you're talking, I can feel that because there's also levels to when you are going to be more sophisticated. As we get older, sophistication and refinement, hopefully, if we are elevating, we are evolving as creatures, becomes a part of our nature. Even if you're a streetwise cat, you still have a certain level of elevation because you've lived a little bit. You've seen some things, and your mentality on how you react to those things has evolved and still, again, remain the same, even though it has changed. Because again, if you guys remember me saying, the more things change, the more things stay the same. So evolution, yes, is about change, but it is not necessarily transformation. And transformation is necessary in some spaces, and then in some spaces we do need to maintain a certain level of consistency. So when it comes to you meeting a young lady and you have that linen shirt and it's kind of wrinkled, but you guys are vibing, right? And she can feel, you know, the ridges and the folds that come into not only the clothing, but the feeling that you're creating, that there's little pockets of hidden treasures, there's little pockets and folds of your personality and your expression in that space. Now we have the ability to leave a lasting impact with our image. So I want you to try on this week. That's an old adage, yep. The more things change, the more things stay the same. So I want you to try on this week. As I hit my stand, let me readjust. Being consistently conscious and aware of your casual nature and how you can tie that to, how you can tie that to the rest of your personality and your persona. I am a guy who will always have a level of sophistication. Yesterday, went to my homie's house for brunch, and I did it without thinking. Threw on this beautiful, and I know handicap is, you're gonna say you wanted to see a picture. I need to do better taking pictures. But I threw on this yellow knit. It was a cable knit type of linen silk sweater, and I had on one of my polos actually that had a floral print on a brown background. Threw on some brown trousers, and it's still quasi cool here. So I threw on some Chukkas or some Chelsea boots and stepped out. And so there's still a casual element to that look, but it's still going to be expressive. It's still going to be refined. It's still going to be sensual in that expression. So I would challenge you guys to tie your look to your character. Don't tie your character to different types of looks. It creates inconsistency issues, and we don't want that. I want you to be consistent in your character, remembering that each day you're creating that page for your story, and to remember that the more consistently cool you are, the more you leave a lasting legacy in your look. So again, I want you to try that on. Today you will be getting 3 videos. I'm gonna make sure that the first one is scheduled to go up at 6:30, and then by midnight at latest, you guys gonna have 2 other videos. The Story of Ralph. I finally was able to get the first episode out, or together. So I'm just finishing the production on that, and we're gonna have a conversation for the hats since I missed you guys on Friday. So just know I'm always going to, or I'm committed to now making up if I miss a day, which is not going to be frequently anymore. Then I'll make up for it, and make sure that you guys get those videos. Outside of that, yo, be great today. It's Monday. It's an opportunity to really set the foundation for how you want to feel, how you want to move, and what you want to fashion for the week. So I hope that you are stepping out, and showing up in style, and that above all, that you don't ever forget that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, like you, Handicap Visions, my fly guy, like you, Craig Wallace, all my great dudes out here, should always dress to express. I'll see you this evening. Peace.